Well, here with us now, the director of the parent practice, Elaine Halligan. Elaine, thanks very much indeed for coming in today. There's actually so many different avenues this story could go into. But first of all, this business of a light smack being okay. Certainly in my experience, from what I've seen and being a parent myself, is the only time children get smacked is when the parent has completely lost their temper. And small children have the ability to drive adults into an area they didn't necessarily know about. The mild, deliberate smack seems to be pointless.
And I think what you've just identified very succinctly is it's such a thorny area. What is reasonable chastisement? How do we differ between a smack and just a little tap on the back of the legs? And I would say one thing, that one of the fastest ways to lose your child's respect is by smacking in any form. So at the parent practice, we're very clear that smacking is not acceptable. And I think you're absolutely right. Smacking is not to do with children's behaviour. It's all to do with our emotions. And our emotions are usually born out of fear, anger, and that feeling that we're really out of control. And I think parents really do need help these days to know how to be in charge in a really positive way. So it is about discipline. It is about positive discipline, but it's not about punishment. I think there's huge confusion. If a child hits another child, we call it hostility. If an adult hits an adult, if you hit me, I'd probably prosecute you for assault. If a child hits an adult, we kind of say that's aggressive, but somehow we try and make it okay for an adult to hit a child. And we term it discipline, whereas actually it's punishment.
Okay, so going back to my original question then, the parent who lashes out at a child because they've simply reached the end of their tether, that's something the parent regrets immediately,
Absolutely.
may try and compensate and make things right with the child again.
Absolutely.
The parent that takes the child and says, now you shouldn't do this, and here's a little light smack for good measure, in some ways that's worse.
All the research tells us that when children are smacked, even if it's a light smack, it teaches them that smacking is acceptable. So don't be surprised as a parent if your child suddenly hits you back. It gives so many mixed messages, and I do think parents are very confused. Last year, Nicky Morgan, the Education Secretary, did say it's acceptable. So it's no wonder that parents are out there wondering what's reasonable chastisement and how do I get my child to cooperate and not have to go down that punitive, authoritarian route, which we think doesn't work.
What's also interesting is we have this kind of nationalised attitude towards parenting. So this is how they parent in Italy, this is how they parent in America, this is how we do it in England. We don't seem to find any kind of unity. You don't have to travel very far and find parents that still actually swipe their children really heavily across the back of the head with a shoe or with their hand in order to instill discipline. So what's going wrong there? Why are people focusing on one particular country and its
So there are cultural differences, needless to say, but I think if we're wanting to parent positively and bring out the best in our children and ensure that parent and child have a respectful relationship, then I think the UN is absolutely right to say smacking is wrong. Where I think they have got it wrong, though, is by criminalising parents. You're a parent, I'm a parent. If I'm really honest about it, and we need to be honest about this, all of us will have, in the moment, lost our temper, lost our emotions, and perhaps smacked. But to criminalise parents and to judge them is absolutely not the answer. And where the answer lies is in education.
So senior parents, such as you or I perhaps, we've been doing it a while. It's all very easy for us to kind of rationalise and look at this, but we have to remember that a lot of parents are 19, 20, 21 years old. And looking back to ourselves when we were 19, 20, the sort of mistakes we made then are not the kind of mistakes we make now. Do we need to allow for the fact that people are actually quite young when they start having children?
I think if they are young, what's interesting is people say parenting's instinctive. It's the most instinctive job you'll ever do, and I really question that. Parenting is all based on your kind of experiences, and they are deeply ingrained. If you were smacked as a child, it's highly probable that you will go down that same route, or you'll make a conscious decision to do something else. So if we do have young parents, it's all down to education, and I think the government are doing some wonderful work, and there's an organisation out there called Can Parent, which is the government kite mark, and I would encourage all parents to just have a really close look at arming themselves with some really practical, pragmatic skills so they can still discipline, but do it in a positive way.
Very good. Elaine Halligan, thanks very much indeed for joining us this evening on Sky News.
Pleasure.